Hello Houston, and Happy New Year's. Welcome to this New Year's edition to Channel 69 News. I'm your lead anchor, Josiah Prince, and since it's New Year's Eve, we're going to be covering some of the memorable moments of this decade. Let's start with some of the great entertainers, musicians to be exact. The music of the 60s has often been associated with anti-war, civil rights, and drugs. While Bob Dylan and the Byrds sang about social justice for all humans here at home and abroad, psychedelic musicians such as Jimi Hendrix and Pink Floyd used drugs and created a different sense of freedom, almost an escape from the reality of their current situations. Many of their messages were subliminal and selfish. Psychedelic artists, no doubt, opened up new musical possibilities that will lead us into the next decade with acceptance. The same way we've come to accept the impact of the women's movement. Now, Lauren Santos will discuss more in depth about that women's movement.
Thank you, Josiah, and Happy New Year's Eve to everyone. I'm Lauren Santos, and I'm here to talk about the past decade for women. To start, famous author Betty Friedan published her first book, The Feminine Mystique, in 1963. I have to say this is one of my favorite books of the past decade, mainly because it talks about how women are more than just housewives and mothers. This eventually gave a push for women to have their voices heard, and a few months later, on June 10, 1963, women pushed and were able to pass the EPA Act, Equal Pay Act, which abolishes wage disparity in a workplace based on gender. Following this, in 1964, the Civil Rights Act was passed, banning discrimination against color, race, national origin, religion, or sex. Jumping from here in 1966, we hear from Betty Friedan again as she comes back now not only as an author, but the founder of NOW, National Organization for Women, which ensures equality for women across the nation. I hope you enjoyed my segment on women's rights for the past decade. I'm Lauren Santos. Back to you, Jacob.
Thank you, Lauren. It's Jacob Rousseau, reporting live from the swamps of Vietnam with breaking news. We've gotten in news that President Johnson will be sending in troops in retaliating North Vietnam after multiple attacks on the USS Maddox, the first following a warning. The North Vietnamese attacked not only the USS Maddox, but the USS Turner Joy. Immediately after President Johnson launched Operation Peace Arrow, which are multiple air strikes and select targets in North Vietnam as retaliation of two ships. We have news just in. President Johnson has power to take on necessary measures.
Thank you, Jacob. I'm Lauren, back again to tell you all about 60's fashion. There is quite a big jump for women, from the big poodle skirts to more anything goes type of style, and that goes for men as well. One major trend that hit our clothing stores was hippies fashion. Mainly this came from the influence of the 1950s decade, the beat movement, which was an alternative lifestyle rebelling against society's conformity. Their clothing was often loose-fitted. Men and women grew out their hair. Gradually, this extended toward the influence of the hippies. Into the 1960s, the hippies' wardrobe for women, as you can see, preferably consisted of hip hugger, bell-bottom jeans, flower patterns, t-shirts, and the more flowy type of feel. For more men, it was typically the same thing. Loose flared pants with t-shirts and leather vests, long hair, and both genders accessorized with the greatest jewelry, handmade bracelets of course. More accessories included boots, the Pocahontas headband, and if you wanted to, no shoes went well too. Fringe was also very popular, and let's not forget the peace symbol. Thank you, I'm Lauren Santos, and this was my segment over 1960s fashion.
Hello, it's Jacob Rousseau, live from the White House in Washington, D.C. Today we're here to witness the presidential election. Today is a day of sorrow for many, due to what could have been on June 5th, 1968, the day the Democratic favorite Robert F. Kennedy was assassinated. Let's take a moment of silence for remembrance of the brilliant young man. Today is a day of hope for many of the rioters opposed to the war. The unrest rioting on college campuses and the streets of the city. They have hoped to see change with order. As many people say today, could have been soon-to-be ex-president Lyndon B. Johnson's second term for president if it weren't for the war opposers. A day of hope for soon-to-be ex-Vice President Hubert Humphrey, a delegate winning the hearts of the war opposers, promising to end the war if elected to become president. Whereas the Republican side is seemingly calm, President Nixon is running off potential opponents, making it look easy. The votes are coming in, and it seems to be a landslide. The people want change.
President Kennedy was loved by many and will truly be missed. Thank you for watching this New Year special on Channel 69. My co-anchors Lauren Santos and Jacob Roussel truly appreciate everyone who watched. Happy New Year's, America, and remember, ask not what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country. And to end things here on this New Year special, we're going to look back on the life of our greatly missed 44th President of the United States, John Fitzgerald Kennedy. President Kennedy was born in Brookline, Massachusetts on May 29, 1917, where he and his 8 other siblings lived a very wealthy young life. After Kennedy graduated from Harvard University, he decided to bravely serve his country and volunteer for hazardous combat duty in the Pacific during World War II. His wartime service made him a hero. After a brief moment of being a journalist, Kennedy decided to get himself into politics. He served in the House of Representatives from 1947 to 1953, and then served as the U.S. Senate from 1953 to 1960. Successfully running and winning the presidential election of 1960, President Kennedy was the youngest president in history to serve in office. To many, his presidency represented the voice of the youthful idealism in the aftermath of World War II. Unfortunately, during his 3rd year in office, the energetic, intelligent leader was assassinated on November 22, 1963, in Dallas, Texas.